with the pulling footage. So be interested to kind of see how maybe this new app and the new options may change your guys' output on this. So yeah, let's go ahead and actually get started now. So today we are going to introduce our brand new mobile app. It is called SCW Viewstation Mobile, and we're going to do mostly a demo of this, right? I'm going to go ahead and show you all the major features, the new user interface, the analytic options that are built into it, and then we'll jump into a Q&A to answer any questions that anybody has on it, whether you're a new client or somebody who is an existing client that already has systems. So for our people who are not familiar with SCW, we are a value-driven company that provides end-to-end security solutions. So whether you're looking for a turnkey video access control system at your facility, or you're looking for self-install options across your locations, we're able to do both of those. Um, we have a dealer program as well for our dealers out there and our biggest kind of claim to fame there is our support team, all based here in North Carolina. It's kind of how we made our reputation, just always there to help you with whatever you need. So, all right. So really when we think about mobile apps, we really want the power to go anywhere and have information everywhere. I think that's the key point. Um, and mobile access when it comes to security cameras has really been around for a very long time, right? It's been well over a decade that we've had this option, and it's generally been considered over the past, like we sort of see in some of these poll results here, a quick check item. You know, you need to go check live view, see what's happening at your facility. Um, Maybe a quick playback, see what's going on, get your notifications and so on. Um, and everything else you kind of had to go to your desktop to, right? Your laptop, and you had to kind of look for footage. But that has changed over the last little bit here and changing as we kind of go over things, right? So, and why is it? What's the big shift? Why are we seeing more people use their mobile phone for stuff we would have been like, just use your desktop for a couple years ago? Well, the main reason is AI analytics in cameras. Um, because what used to take, let's go back a little bit and think about if you don't have cameras that don't have AI analytics, you have to go into playback, you kind of have to scrub forward, you have to fast forward, you have to go back and forth, and you need precise controls to sort of do that. So you want to have your mouse, you want to have a nice big screen to be able to see everything. Well, AI does a lot of that work for you now. So you can easily go ahead and pull up, if you're looking for a person that was there at 3 a.m., pull up all the people events. And so what used to take hours can now be done in just a few couple taps. And so because of that, that reach of that AI making our lives easier searching for footage has made it a lot more practical to be able to do even a full investigation potentially on your phone. So or tablet as well. And so this is where we introduce the new app, right? We call this SCW Viewstation Mobile to kind of match the Viewstation for our desktop for those who are familiar with it. And the real key about this is it's really built from the ground up to utilize all those AI analytics, to make investigations easy anywhere. And again, the key point when it comes to AI is that when you have better information, you have better actions, and you can respond quicker. And there's more. Obviously, AI is the key thing here that we're going to cover a lot of, but also just in general, it's a better, more modern user interface, which you guys will see here in just a moment. It's better for multi-location. So for our clients with lots of different locations, we think this is a lot easier to manage and use. A better alert section and feature, I think, as well is a big part of this. And of course, again, all the smart searches, which we'll cover. So with that, I am going to go ahead and jump into the live demo portion of this. I do want to mention too, in our Zoom here, you should have a Q&A button on your little bar there. Feel free to put your questions in at any time. I'll address them as it kind of makes sense, or towards the end if it makes more sense to do it then. And we'll also have a couple of slides for those current customers on SCW Go, kind of what that looks like. But short answer of it is it's not going away. This is just a new option within our ecosystem. So all that to be said, let's go ahead and showcase the mobile app now. I've got a quick question for you. I'm going to switch something real quick here. Dylan, can you tell me which one looks better? Is it this one here where I've kind of got it on my desktop? Or if I go ahead and I reshare and I just share the window, does this look better?
I think this looks better.
Okay, cool. Just want to
Yeah.
make sure. Didn't know how that was going to look. So, all right. So, we will go ahead and take a look over here at the new home screen for Viewstation Mobile. And so the first thing you'll notice when you get here is you're in what's known as basically the selection screen. So you can scroll through and see all the systems that are available to you. You can also set them up essentially into folders. So you can see over here I've got warehouse, main office, and so on there. And I can, tap the warehouse and it's going to bring me to warehouse locations. I can bring the main office. It's going to bring me to systems that live in our main office. So for our multi-location clients, you could break this up into geographic locations. So I know we've got some out there that, will shift it by states. So they'll say they'll put all of their systems in Virginia in one and Maryland in the other, and so on or also by the type. We have some that use gas stations and car washes and kind of separate them that way. And it just makes it easier to find that system and be able to access that video quicker. And so to kind of give you another idea of what this user interface looks like over here too, is you'll see under the systems that you can kind of scroll through here and then see the videos from these cameras as well. And if you want to access any individual camera, you can just tap that camera. So if I tap this one, you'll see it goes to sort of like the traditional live view um, and everything like that. I can jump over to playback for this camera. So if I want to check recorded footage, I can do that, or even the alarm messages, which, let's see, go to one that actually has it set up here. And we'll be able to see all those alerts over there as well. So for example, if I want to see this person who's walking by, I can just tap that and it brings me right to there. So that's a quick look at our new user interface. Let's go ahead and I want to bring up, as we kind of watch this, the next couple of things with the user interface as well. So go back here. A couple of other things that have been revamped when it comes to the user interface is also the favorites feature. So this did exist within ViewStation or SCW Go, excuse me, but it wasn't quite as easy to set up and quite as easy to navigate. So you can see over here, you get a nice image of what you're looking at. So for example, my parking lot over here, this can be from multiple locations. You just hit that play button and it goes to that favorite view. And then the other thing from the live viewing section or the selection screen here too is you'll notice that each system also has their own play button. So you see up here where we've got let me go ahead and actually start drawing these for everybody. The arrows over here. This will play the individual systems here. So we can go in and if I want to play our warehouse system, I just have to click that play button and it goes over there. We get the multi-camera. You can go ahead and select whatever camera size you want in terms of grids and everything. Also, this app, if you're not familiar, you can also rotate this and then get a full um, 16:9 aspect ratio if you want to as well, which is nice. But you can see kind of what that looks like. And then the last thing when it comes to up top here, where we've got this other play button, which is up here. You'll notice that we can actually play all the systems that are available to us. And so that's either going to be in that all section or your general folders and everything like that. So there we go. Go ahead and clear out these. Any questions so far on that? If you guys want to put any questions in chat, hopefully that was all clear for you guys in terms of really how to navigate into this new section here. Um, The last thing I'll showcase when it comes to the mobile app as well is that when you click this three line icon or tornado icon, whatever you want to call it, You can also rearrange the devices. So if you want to have certain devices at top, like maybe I want the main office in that, I can do that. You can also change this mode. So instead of seeing it based on like the NVR, you can also just kind of make it a full-on view here. So instead of breaking it down by systems, it breaks it down by cameras. Some people who navigate systems visually know what they're looking for. They don't necessarily know camera names or anything like that. So that could be a useful thing as well. Alrighty. And that is kind of the quick look at the overview of this user interface kind of change over here. Once you get into the actual um, live viewing section, it will look pretty familiar for those who are used to, um, our SCW Go app or have used the camera system before. For example, here's playback. We can go ahead and see that we've got, the lines here indicating an analytic event that I can jump over to. And we can also record, snapshot, everything from here as well. And you can also even do filtering here. So if I only want to see people, I can do that, and it'll actually skip in between these ones. So see over here, there he is walking around, and so on. So nice to have that. And then again with the intrusion detection and the AI analytics here, you also have these nice thumbnails where you can just jump over to individual points there as well instead of using that timeline. So you have both options there for anybody who needs it. And do you have a question? Can multiple users have their own app per tenant? You might have to clarify that with me. I'm not 100% sure. You can have, I'll answer as much as I can, but you can have multiple people on the app and you can share um, either individual devices. So if you only want somebody, if you have 10 locations, let's say, and you only want them to have two locations, you can absolutely only share those two locations with that person. You can also even get down more granularly and set up, individual camera permissions. So if you only want to have two cameras per location, you can also do that as well. Um, Let me know if that answered your question. If not, I'll try to answer it as well. So, all right. So the next section that I want to roll into is the searching section. So when we look here at the bottom menu bar, you'll notice we have four new icons. We have the home screen, which is kind of the selection screen. We've got the alarm section. We've got the search section, and then kind of where you log in and adjust your devices, including, by the way, I kind of jumped right into this, but for those who are not familiar with kind of our current system, you basically just have to log into your cloud account. It imports the NVRs that you should have access to. So that's all I had to do. I didn't have to sit here and add things individually or anything like that. Um, and let's go ahead and but focus on the main ones over here. So we're going to look at our people and vehicle search, and I'm going to go ahead and just select just one of the systems we have here. So we're going to hit confirm here. And so this is going to bring up all of the people or the vehicle events over here. So you see we have motor vehicle at the top, non-motor vehicle, humans, and events. That's going to be like your motion and stuff. And so you can see that, if I want to find a vehicle today, I just have to scroll through and find this vehicle. It's quite a bit easier than, having to go to that playback section and kind of dig through it and everything like that. And when you find an event that you're interested in seeing, like this, let's say this blue car down here, all you have to do is tap it. You get a thumbnail. You get also a cropped in thumbnail, so you can kind of see it even a little bit better. But if I want to go ahead and just check what this event was, how fast this car was going, whatever the situation is, I can just click this playback button and it will go directly to that time period so that you can easily see this event coming through. And there it goes. And from here, if I choose to, I want to download it, I can go ahead and download that video very easily right to my phone. Or if I want to clip it a little bit more precisely, maybe I can also click that record button and kind of clip it that way as well. So really, really easy to find events this way. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with people. So I'm going to go to the human section here, and I'm also going to choose our main office system demo one here. And you'll see the same kind of thing. So we're able to see all the people events, get the thumbnail, the crop thumbnail, and then play it back very easily there as well. So to take a brief second, to kind of back out and kind of explain sort of what that looks like in terms of um, how this would have been in the past. With our older app, you would have to go in the playback. You kind of have to look for these if you've got it all set up. And even if you didn't have AI analytics, you'd basically have to spend all day looking for somebody in there. So the fact that I can just go in here, easily look at all the people I've crossed either my entire systems or just a single system or a single camera, definitely makes it a lot easier to potentially find that kind of footage. Um, so that's our people and vehicle search. And I see we have a couple questions. I'll go ahead and I'll get to that just one second. Um, the last thing I want to show when it comes to that as well, if we go back to vehicles over here, is if we click that filtering, not only do we have the people and vehicle, but we can also select vehicle colors as well. So I'm going to go ahead and see, I want to see what blue cars we've had. So this is supported on our newer cameras that have color search capability, which is, again, most of our newer ones. Um, Older cameras most likely do not have this function. But we can go over here and then you'll see that this is filtering all the blue cars that we've seen in the last 7 days. So it makes it significantly easier to find events like that, especially when you don't know the time frame. So as another example, let's just say somebody had an issue with a blue car in the parking lot, and you didn't know if it happened today, yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Again, before that would be something that you would spend hours actually working through and trying to find, looking at your history, and now I can just kind of easily go through here and see the blue vehicles. So it's really, really nice. The next thing that I wanted to go ahead and showcase when it comes to the AI, and this is all for anybody who's maybe seeing some of these features for the first time too. Um, we have a question about event notifications, but no data for people or vehicles during a search. So, first thing is, that was a question we had. The first thing is that we do need to have cameras that do support those functions. So these analytics are being provided by the camera. So, we need to have cameras that support that first off, and then they need to be set up. Usually that's either with the intrusion detection or the line crossing, or even something we call ultra motion detection. Um, I believe as part of our follow-up email, we'll send you some info on that. We also had a full um, webinar on the AI analytics that are available in our cameras now, so I definitely would check that out. Um, and secondly, to that point too, if you want to double check to see if you have your account manager, they'll be able to tell you kind of what capability you have with your cameras and then help you set it up. So feel free to give them a call and they'll make sure everything is set up as accurately as possible. So all right. And so the next thing I wanted to showcase over here is another feature that is new, sort of on the newer side, right? And it's called TraceSearch. And so, one of the things that we run into in a security situation is obviously this is true whether you're looking at your desktop or anywhere else, when you have an incident, let's just say we want to know, hey, where did this person go? Where did they come from? We have to sort of figure out based on, hey, I know there's a camera inside the office over here, so let me go ahead and check the office camera this is at 239. And then you got to be like, well, he's probably there at 240. And you got to kind of guess throughout your entire system where that person may have went based on their movement. And it can quite literally, again, take hours to kind of pull all the footage from that person's walkthrough. So within our newer NVRs, and again, the cameras that have the AI, there's a feature on them called TraceSearch, which allows us to kind of quickly find all of the events this person has been on. And now it's also available on mobile. So, what we want to do is go ahead and just click this TraceSearch button here. And what this is going to do is it's going to match up any other events it detected him in front of. So you can see this is him going in and out of the office, walking over here near the conference room, and so on. And so, again, if I need to see, hey, what did this person do today? It's significantly um, makes it a lot easier for me to find those events, and I can go ahead and to each an individual one. So let's go ahead and do one in front of this camera over here, and we'll click playback. And from here we can go ahead and download this footage. We can snip it, whatever we need to do. But just finding him across the cameras is significantly easier with this trace search function. So um, that kind of power is now available right into our mobile app. And let's go ahead and do one more example here, maybe, before I get into the alarms. All right, so let's look at this person here. And so you can see that initially, we're seeing them on this camera here. And then as you go down, you're able to see them, throughout here as well. So we're able to see them, walk in over here, like here. And so, yeah, again, finding that footage there significantly easier than it has been in the past. Alrighty, and that kind of showcases the main key points of what the AI analytics build in here too. I'll also mention you can also do license plate searches as well. So if you have one of our license plate cameras, you can also search for license plates in here, which is a feature people are looking for. Um, and the next thing I'm going to go over to is the alarm section. But before I do, I'll just pause for a brief moment here to see if there's any questions that anybody has um, wants to put in here too. I saw that question about the Warrior and the Scout cameras. The Scouts definitely do support the AI analytics, and most of the Warriors over the last 3 or 4 years do as well, or around there. So again, I would probably contact your account manager, and we'll get you in touch with them, and we will work. They'll work with you to get that all set up and make sure see what capabilities you have. Some of the oldest Warrior cameras, like the V1 and V2 models, don't support those functions, but most of our newer ones, in fact, all of our cameras right now, except three of them, support all the AI capabilities that you're seeing here. So, all right. So the last thing that I want to cover too is alarms. So this is a very big part of any security camera system. Of course, it is being able to get notifications and everything like that. So I'm going to showcase one of our systems here, and let's focus on the intrusions. And so a couple things that are very well improved on of the SCW Viewstation Mobile compared to SCW Go is you'll notice that we always get snapshots over here. I know that sometimes um, that snapshots will occasionally show up on SCW Go and then sometimes not. This has all been refixed to kind of make sure that the snapshots are there consistently so you can easily go through. And so when you get a push notification, it looks very similar to that search section we just covered, right? So you see them all over here. You can filter them out if you need to, either by device or by camera. But when you get a push notification, you go to something like this, and it's the same screen that you'll see on that same search section. So it's very familiar. And so if you have a quick event and you get that push notification and you need to jump right into there, you can easily go right into the live video and see what's going on right there with that camera. Or if it's an older event like this one over here, which is just about 20 minutes ago, you can see that I can go right to the playback and then see what's going on. Okay, what was this car doing? Are they just driving by? Are they stopping? Um, and so that kind of gives you the ability to just quickly jump in and out of that event there. So that's one of the big improvements when it comes to ViewStation Mobile is just you can see here. Um, It's much more filterable. And also you can obviously like clear and set up notifications. So the alarm section acts as two things. It's your central place to get all of your alarms that come in, so you can kind of keep track of it. Some people use this as like, hey, what happened last night? Did anything happen last night? And the first thing, they don't even necessarily set up those notifications, right? But they go in here and they double check to see, okay, what happened in the overnight, and they look at their footage and they go, okay, looks like nothing was there. I'm good to go. It's kind of their check-in that they do on a daily basis. Whereas others, of course, are going to primarily get this through their push notifications as well. Um, and so that kind of covers the alarm section there, which is kind of the last section I had on my list. But I do have some questions over here. And one of them was, can you set up alerts and notifications for specific areas? So yeah, actually, when you set up the analytic, you can set up specific locations. So I'll show you actually kind of what that looks like over here. Um, so by the way, you can actually set some of this stuff up from your mobile now as well. I generally still recommend trying to set it up on your computer, but you can do that. So for example, this one over here, if I go to the alarm detection section and go to intrusion, and we'll go to the area here. Hopefully this all shows up okay for you guys. Is that still showing up okay for you, Dylan? I know it just rotated,
Yeah, it
but I
looks good.
cool, cool. So yeah, from here we can go ahead and we can draw a specific area. So I can go ahead and like, if I just want the entrance over here, I can do that. Um, so yeah, and then when somebody walks into this zone, for example, this is when you'd get the notification. It's not going to give you a notification when somebody's on that drive through area or the drive area, I guess, for lack of better words. Also on alarms, which I didn't cover, is you can set up the schedule for those as well. So if you want to go in and you want to go in and hit allow notifications, and then you would select basically actually I want to select my other one here, a little easier. You would select which cameras you want to have those alerts on, and then you would change the schedule over here to choose which time period you want to have it on. So if you only want them to have them on the weekend, you can go ahead and easily do that and then set that up. And then you can also have another schedule for after hours. So maybe like, if you're 9 to 5, let's say, you might want them from 7 a.m. or midnight to 7 a.m. and so on. So um and yeah, so that's kind of that there. Um Couple of other questions we'll go ahead and hit now. When viewing the cameras, does that count towards the available channels on the NVR? Um, so when I go ahead and I look at the system here, so for example, like our main office, and I'm just going to hit the play for that. I'm pulling out those cameras from the NVR basically, and so, but like if you have a 32 channel NVR, for example, you're not like using six of them over here. It's just pulling it from the NVR. Hopefully that answers the question. If not, feel free to let me know. But um, yeah, the other question we have is there a way to clip and download videos and share? And yeah, absolutely. So let's go over two different ways. The first way I typically go into it is I go into the people and vehicle search. So if I'm looking for, a person or again, like a vehicle over here, I can go right to that event. I can go to playback over here, and I can either download this footage using kind of the clipping time and all that stuff here, or I can also just hit this record button. This will record basically what the video is actually playing here. So we'll see that in just a second. Car should be coming high. I think we have like a 10-second buffer. There we go. And then I can tap it again. And then you'll see that all of the clips are saved on your phone. So you can then click them, and then you'll notice there's a share button down here. And that share button, sorry, it's just down here, will allow you to send it through whatever is available. So whether you have, like, for example, I send it on Slack pretty frequently. or Messenger or whatever email, whatever else that you want to send it through, whatever apps you have on your phone, just like any other app that you would use. Now, the second way would be to, select your camera. So if they maybe don't have the AI analytics or you prefer doing it this way, you can go ahead and select whatever cameras you want to see. So for example, I'll just select this one. You can then go to your playback and you can scrub through there. So if I want to go check out like, hey, what happened today at 5 a.m. or let's actually go a little later. Let's say 3 a.m. over here. We can check what's going on at that time. Interesting. Let me try a different camera then. So, here we are at 2:30 in the morning, and we can do the same functions like clipping, downloading, and so on as well. Um, and so, yeah, you definitely just to answer the question, you definitely can pull footage, save footage, share it from there. And it's even easier than before, I would say. So, um, one other question we've got, is it available now? And um, the answer is yes. It's called Viewstation Mobile. It's actually in the App Store today. I'll actually cover that in just a second. Um, but yeah, you can download it today. It's all available, ready to go. It's full release. So, um, second question or another question we had here is will notifications actually pop up? I know Apple is very strict on allowing notifications. Yes, they will, but of course you do have to go in and hit allow when you open up the app for the first time, or you have to go into your phone settings and then say that SW Viewstation Mobile is allowed to send you notifications. But yeah, once you have it all set up, there are no problem getting the notifications. It'll let you know, pop up and say, there's been an intrusion detection on front entrance camera or whatever you have your camera name, and then you can do that. Um, and then as far as the views and everything, yeah, when it comes to both live view and playback, you can do multiple cameras. So, for example, over here on oops, sorry, on the live view, you can see all of these four cameras that I've got. I can double tap to bring them up big, sort of similar to what, it does on the desktop there. But then if I want to do multi-camera playback, I can do that as well. You just click this multi-camera playback button. And then you'll see that we actually have a time frames over here. So if I go move them, this is all synchronous playback. So we'll go ahead and here you see that one on the bottom right has no video, but you can play back from there as well. So um, up to four cameras on playback at a time, or you can double tap and then bring up that individual one and go back as well. So and back to the selection screen. And then we also have the favorites feature too. For those who came in a little late, you'll be able to set up your own views based on the location and then easily get to them as well for live view or also playback too. So, alrighty. And that kind of gets me to the end, I guess, of the live demo portion. I'll still have this available, so if anybody wants to ask any questions um, as I switch back over here, we definitely can. Um, as well. And we'll go ahead and I'll go back to our presentation over here to help recap some things, give some more information. And then one other question or comment we just had as well is about the iPad, right? Um, and often that's kind of like, uh, again, because of the fact that we have so much more options and power within these systems, the fact that we can do more and it's easier to use and makes the iPad a much more um, feasible option for security teams to be able to put on their desks for front desk workers, secretaries, and all that kind of stuff to be able to do that. And we've seen a lot more interest in being able to have something that's a little bit more mobile than just monitor on a desk or something like that. So yeah, iPads are one of the things that were really targeted as part of this update. Like SCW Go, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, is almost 10 years old now, and it's iPads were almost still new back then. So, this is part of that revamping and coming out with a new app altogether. But So just to kind of recap what really we're talking about here, and the improvements on SCW Viewstation Mobile is, for our multi-location clients, th that was a big area of improvement. We want to make sure it was easier to find your systems, easier to create save views, and so on. It also supports a new team mode, which will probably have its own webinar at some point, but basically it makes it a lot easier to share the access and everything, so people don't actually have to sign up for an account first. Well, really cool improvements there. The AI axis is obviously the second biggest part of this, and or easily the biggest part of it, maybe depending on who you are. And really, what happened is that we brought the entire suite from the ViewStation desktop into the mobile app. So you can do the people and vehicle search, you can do color search, you can do trace search, you can do LPR search. Oh my, like I have over there. And so what that means is that. Um, that investigation process to be able to find when somebody you know is in the footage, or if you need to do a trace search or see what they did, you don't have to go and stop what you're doing, go to the desktop. You can do it right from your phone, your tablet, Android or iPhone too, by the way. And again, big thing, alerts. We want these to be more actionable than ever. I think when we got previous alerts on the app, it wasn't always clear what was going on. You didn't have quite the nice thumbnails always. So this is a very quick and reliable access to either live view or playback, and then you can easily go to trace search as well. So next steps, yeah, for those who in your ViewStation Mobile is available now. It's in Google Play and the Apple App Store. You can download it right now if you want to. Um, for existing clients that do use SCW Go, it's not going away. SCW Go is still going to be available to download. You're still going to be able to use it. You're not going to wake up one day and go to SCW Go and then the app's not going to work, right? It's going to be working for the far future. But I will say that the major features, so like the trace search feature, for example, that's not going to come to SW Go. So for our clients with newer systems that want to utilize those more AI heavy features, I definitely would recommend moving over to ViewStation Mobile. They're going to continue to get new updates. So when we get new features and new options within our systems, that it's going to all come to ViewStation Mobile. So, and couple of questions that we do have as well, and I'll just kind of go to that Q&A slide. SCW Go, use Star for Live. How do you authenticate with ViewStation Mobile? Exact same way, it still uses that Star for Live login, so use the exact same login as your previous SCW Go. Next question is, I have some older cameras. I don't have all the features that this app provides. Is it worth downloading? Um, should I stick to SW Go? And then as a follow-up to that, somebody else asked kind of what I was actually going to run into is, will it run parallel with SCW Go as well? So, if you have older cameras, but you still have a lot of locations, I still think, ViewStation Mobile is a better app for that situation. I think it's better in general. What I can tell you is go ahead and give it a try, get, you know, test it out, see if you like it. Um, if you don't, you're perfectly free to stick with SCW Go. You can actually have both of them at the same time. And to the follow-up question, can you have them both run in parallel? Absolutely. You can have both of the apps on your phone. You can use one or the other depending on what you feel like. So definitely feel free to give it a try. It is free just like the other apps. You're not going to have to, you know, revoke access or anything to SCW Go in order to run it. And the last thing I'll say to that too is one thing, especially if you do have one of our Admiral systems, whether it's an older one, because of this is on provided by the camera, one thing you can look at, and this is something that we work through with a lot of clients coming from either our older cameras or even specifically when it comes to like older third-party cameras and stuff that don't have any of these analytics at all, is we usually work with them to consider upgrading key areas. So like the entranceways or the areas of hotspots. And obviously when you upgrade a camera, you're going to get those AI analytics on those cameras, but you're also going to get everything else that's coming today. We've done a lot of different webinars. We do one monthly for those who are new to this, but we've done ones on the new night vision solutions that we have, what we call Chroma IQ. It's honestly incredible what is available there too. So not only are you going to get those AI analytics, but you're also going to get everything else that comes with having a new camera with new technology. So, and yeah, I definitely think this is a good time to upgrade. I'm not even in sales and I'm saying this, but just the technology leap that's happened just in the last really 2 years when it comes to grabbing AI that like people in vehicle that used to take a server, that was bigger than what I can even show you on my hands here. And nowadays it's built right into your cameras, right? And so um, the technology has moved very, very quickly, and we've moved as quickly as we can here. So, um, and yeah, appreciate all. It looks like we got a lot of good feedback in terms of what they look like and liking it. And this app is, huge improvement. That's a great comment. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about it too, we do have. Sure, Dylan will go through the what's going to be emailed. We do have an overview video along with some tutorials to kind of get you familiar with this app, and also some text guides as well. Our support team has been trained in this as well, so if you do have any questions about it, don't hesitate to give them a call and ask that too. And for the people who are maybe, again, don't have some of the cameras with the AI and all that, or maybe they don't know if they have it or not and they need to get it set up, um, let us know. We get in touch with your account manager. They'll check your order history. They'll see what has access, and they'll make sure that you've got it enabled, and we're taking advantage of what you have. Or if you don't have any at all, what we can do to make the most cost-effective upgrades possible. So. But with that, yeah, Dylan, anything else that you wanted to add on to this before we possibly jump off?
Covered the whole thing. It was we'll send the recording after Zoom processes it. We'll send links to download things, the guides on setups, settings. Got a new guide should be going live here pretty soon for kind of step-by-step walkthrough. And yeah, that's about it. Feel free to reply to that email with any questions and go straight to support. Or like James said, contact your account manager for any specifics.
Absolutely.
Cool. It was
All
great. I'm
right.
excited about this new one for sure.
Yeah,
Feels
yeah.
leaps and bounds different.
Takes you a second or two to get used to, but once you get used to it, you go back to SCW Go, and I still like SCW
Yeah,
Go, but I'm just like, oh man, this.
yeah,
I'll give you actually an example, guys. Like, I've always been. There's a thing that says I'm a millennial, so like, we're kind of like getting old now, and so there's like the younger generation actually makes fun of us, believe it or not, about how we always make big purchases or do things on a laptop. So like when I go and I need to buy like airfare, or I need to buy like something, I'm jumping up on my laptop, and I'm like, I got to make sure I have a big screen and all that. And like my younger cousins and stuff, they're just doing everything on their phone and they don't really. And I'm like, that's crazy. I've never used my phone for that kind of stuff. And then, the other day we actually had a real security incident. Somebody, loitering, kind of vagrancy going on at our office, and we wanted to see, is that person still around at our office or not? And without even thinking about it, actually, the first thing I did was I brought out my phone, checked that alarm section, saw that person initially, did the trace search to see where he went, and was able to see very quickly that he had left the facility and that, he's no longer a potential danger or anything like that. And I kind of stopped after I was doing it, and I was like, oh, here he went. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just did that all on my phone. I didn't even like, it's just like, and it didn't even think about, oh, let's challenge myself and do it on the phone. So, I definitely will say it definitely is a huge improvement in that regard. And I think once you get used to the new user interface, you'll see how much easier it is, and all the features there too. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all your guys' questions and engagement. And again, if any questions come up, don't hesitate to give us a call, ask questions. I'm happy to be there. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on the webinars. Take care.
thanks, James. Yeah.
Bye bye, everybody.